Hi guys, it's ASBYT and welcome back to a brand new video. Now, the Samsung Note 9 was released roughly around 3 months ago, the 9th of August, and I've been using this on and off as my daily driver in that time. So what I thought I'd do, we'll go through the good points and the bad points, and I'll tell you my overall opinion of this smartphone. Because let's be honest, there'll be loads of you guys who wouldn't have bought it on launch and you'll be waiting for an upgrade, for example, or just wait to see some reviews before actually going out and shelling out your hard-earned cash. Hopefully, you'll find this helpful. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Right, so welcome back. First thing, little blue number, little blue t-shirt I thought would be fitting considering I have the blue version of the Samsung Note 9. Even though now it's got a black carbon fibre skin on it, it's what's inside that counts. Now, if you are interested in skins and cases, I did a great video a couple of days ago on the Samsung Note 9 and the iPhone XS Max as well. So if you're interested in some skins and cases, then go and check that video out. And of course, as you can see here, we love carbon fibre. Carbon fibre, everything. Right, so on to the Note 9 review. Now, elephant in the room, on my last video that I did on this phone, I stated in the title, it's not worth it. So why did I say the Note 9 wasn't worth it? We're gonna get this out of the way and then forget about it. I said it because I felt purely and simply on a price point for £900+, you could get the likes are not limited to the OnePlus 6, the Honor 10, the Xiaomi Mi 8 and Mi Mix 2S and now 3, all for around half the price of the Note 9 with pretty much very similar specs. And yes, I said the Note 9 actually trumped those phones if you're taking everything into account, but I didn't feel it was twice as good. And that was the sole reason why I felt at the time the Note 9 wasn't worth the money. Now I've said that, we're gonna leave price aside. If you can afford £900+, you'll still wanna know what are the good points and what are the bad points. And that's what we're gonna delve into straight away. The things I do for you, standing out in the rain just for videos, ridiculous. So, what do I like about the Samsung Note 9? I think on the whole, it is one of the best, if not the best, Android devices on the market right now. For me, it's close between this and the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. There are positives and negatives of both for the sort of all-round whole package phones. If you want to tick as many boxes as possible, then this is going to be one of the best devices to do that. Battery, 4,000 mAh. I generally get very late in the day before I need to charge, and that for me, when I'm on my phone all the time, is brilliant. The next one is the display. This, again, alongside probably the Mate 20 Pro, in my opinion, at this moment in time, are the best two displays on the market because, and this is my opinion, you might not agree, I do like the Infinity displays. There will be some people that prefer flat screens, and that's fine. It's rich, it's vibrant, and it is just absolutely gorgeous to look at. You know, no complaints whatsoever about the display. Then we have the speakers, stereo speakers on here, and they are good. You know, they don't take the place of a standalone speaker, but for a smartphone, they are one of the best. And to be honest, over the last 3 months, watching movies, live TV, all of that sort of stuff, music, off here, any media consumption is an absolute dream using that display and using the stereo speakers. Next up, we've got the SoC inside. We've got the Snapdragon 845 or the Exynos 9810 if you're from Europe, for example. And if you don't know, that is, of course, Samsung's in-house SoC, and they both do an absolutely stellar job. When you combine that with either 6 or 8 GB of RAM, the two different variants, the performance really, on the whole, again, is comparable to those other devices that have those specific specs. Is it the best? I would actually, believe it or not, in terms of raw speed, I would opt for probably the OnePlus 6 or the 6T, for example. And if the Pixel had put 6 or 8 GB of RAM in here, that might be challenging OnePlus. And the reason why they're so quick is because they are stock Android or as close to stock Android as possible. Whereas, of course, with Samsung, you do get a skin over the top. It's not a ridiculously heavy skin like it used to be, but it is still, there are a few things here and there that I potentially think they don't necessarily need. And to be honest, when I first reviewed it, especially in my after a month's review, I mentioned how I had noticed quite a few glitches, which I wouldn't necessarily expect, including one quite big problem it seemed with the Twitter app. Now, 2 months on from that video, firstly, there has been a couple of software updates to the phone, and I have noticed a far smoother experience and less glitches and crashes. There are still a couple, but nowhere near as bad as the first few weeks with the phone. That Twitter problem is still apparent, where you receive a notification from the app, you click on it, and then it seems to take quite a long time to go through to the app. Again, that has improved, but it is still there. Now, I don't know whether that is a problem with Twitter, because I have noticed it a little bit on some other phones, but nowhere near as bad as it seems on the Note 9. Now, of course, with all these great specs, gaming on the Note 9 is, as you would expect, a great experience. In terms of buying a phone for gaming, yes, there are specific phones for gaming, and the Note 9 doesn't come under that bracket, but certainly you can kill two birds with one stone on the Note 9. This will work absolutely brilliantly for you. I've played the likes of PUBG, Fortnite, and numerous different Android games from the Play Store on the phone, and I've had, really, as long as the internet connection is strong, I've had no problems whatsoever. It's been, like I said, a really brilliant experience. Next up, we talk storage, and again, this is one of the best devices if you want large storage on your phone. We've got a minimum of 128 gigabytes, and that goes up to a massive 512 inbuilt gigabytes of storage, and that's without even mentioning the fact that we do have the micro SD card slot as well for expandable storage, which still, there are loads of phones, including those two that I just mentioned, the OnePlus 6 and the Pixel, which don't have micro SD cards. Some would argue it can affect performance. I personally think it'd be better to give people the option and let them decide, but that's just me. And that micro SD card slot allows for a maximum of another 512 gigabytes, so you can get over a terabyte of storage on a smartphone, and that is crazy. Quite a few laptops and computers don't have that, so that is a great thing. Now, obviously, with that sheer amount of storage, I've never had a problem. I've never reached the limit and had to delete anything, and that's probably because I did actually include a micro SD card in here as well. I only put 256 in there, and I only had 128 gigabytes in the first place on this device. So, quick maths. It's annoying. 384? Is that right? I'm sure I'll get absolutely slated in the comments if that's wrong, but 384 gigabytes of storage I've been using on here, and I've never really got to the top, so decent. Also, you've got IP68 water and dust resistant. I personally haven't really tested that. At 1 meter or less, you're going to be absolutely fine. So another good thing is the extras that you get with the Samsung Note 9. It's compatibility with DeX, which I haven't used, but again, if you are one of these people who takes their phone and uses it for work a lot and wants to connect it to a monitor, for example, to show presentations and things like that, then this is going to be another great device for you. You don't have to take a tablet or a laptop or anything like that. You can just use it. Just punch the phone, settle down, getting a bit excited. Also, another extra is, of course, the Magic S Pen, which at first, in my initial review, I said I felt personally it was a bit of a gimmick. I've used it more than I thought I would, to be fair. Using it for photographs, for example, when you put your phone up and take a picture using the button on the actual pen, I think is a really great tool, which I didn't think I'd use. However, it is still a little bit awkward to find a home for the phone to rest it somewhere so that it doesn't fall over and smash in the meantime before you take the photo. Maybe in a future product, they definitely won't do this because it's probably a stupid idea, but maybe include, as well as the pop-out pen, have a little pop-out, something you can put on the back of the phone to rest somewhere. A little stand. No? Awful idea, I know, but I've gone with it. Now, as well as that, I've used it a lot for notes as well. I'm not going to lie, I find it very easy to just whack the pen out, was what I was trying to say, and just write a note instead of typing and stuff like that. And there are other things like using it to control music, etc., which I haven't really used, if I'm being honest, but that option is there. The buttons are very clicky. I've not had any problems over the 3 months. None of them have kind of indented a bit and kind of got less sturdy, which some phones do. This hasn't. I wouldn't expect them to for the price, but I've gone with price again. Forget the price. I wouldn't expect them to, being Samsung, but like I said, some do. In terms of call reception, I've not really had a problem. Speaker quality when you're listening, again, is pretty good. If I'm being honest, I don't really notice a massive difference between different phones and their speakers. I can tell a really bad one, but outside of that, they're all fairly similar. I don't think call quality has really jumped on leaps and bounds over the last 5-10 years, but still, it's you know, it does a reasonable job. Right, so now I'm going to jump onto the camera because it's got some good points and some negatives, and then from there we'll spiral into the negatives. There aren't too many, so don't get too worried, but there are a few that I think you might want to know if you're indeed looking to possibly shell out your money, like I said, for the phone. So what do I like about the camera? Well, number one, very simply, low light situations, the rear camera is one of the best on the market. I'm not going to go too much into specs because I did that in the unboxing and the subsequent video, but basically the main primary sensor can actually change aperture depending on how light it is outside, so it can go wide to allow in more light, for example, in low light situations. It works very, very well. And the main primary sensor in the dual rear camera, on the whole, I am very impressed with. One of the other good things about the cameras on the Note 9 is the front-facing camera can shoot Quad HD video, and that is very, very impressive. There really aren't many phones currently that do Quad HD on that front-facing camera. Also, the slow-mo on this thing, 960 frames per second at 720p, is amazing. It really is. You can get some incredible shots. Also, the stabilization, in my opinion, yes, it's not going to be quite as stable as using a gimbal, for example, but it does a very, very good job. And the sound is actually pretty clear. I actually did a video a few months ago where I was testing between using just a smartphone microphone and a sort of plug-in microphone. And while the plug-in microphone was better, I was surprised at how well the Note 9 handled its inbuilt microphone for sound quality. Now we're going to jump onto a couple of negatives about the cameras. And first of all, portrait mode. Even though it does a reasonable job in terms of edge detection, I feel number one, it takes quite a long time for the phone to register something in front of it in terms of, so if I were to hold this up, it's quite sensitive where you can actually take the portrait, the blur effect, the bokeh effect, whatever you want to call it, from. It'll say move subject further away or something along those lines. It says that quite a lot, and even when you're quite far, you'll get it and it'll be fine, and then you go to take the photo and then that message will jump up again, and it's just a bit, you have to be very steady. It's not kind of a point shoot quick shot sort of camera. It takes quite a long time to set things up, and because of that, I've often found over the last few months, I've got quite a lot of blurred photos when taking portrait shots, for example. Like I said, standard shots, not really had a problem. Portrait mode is quite sluggish and quite blurred at times when you don't get it quite right compared to the other top smartphone cameras available. Now we're going to jump onto the front-facing camera, and again, this is a bit of an issue. I don't think it's that good. Honestly, like I said, it's not terrible. I'm not completely slating it, but there are, in my opinion, quite a few phones out there that have better front-facing cameras than the Samsung Note 9. Again, in low-light situations, complete opposite to the back, I find it's pretty poor in low-light situations for that front camera. And again, I've got quite a lot of blurred photos over the last few months. Right, on to another thing that I don't like, and again, this isn't horrendous, but for me, even though the battery life is great in terms of longevity in a day, the 4000 mAh, etc., the actual charge speed, even though it's fast charging, I kind of got used to dash charge in the OnePlus 6, which you get 60%, I think, in half an hour. When I jumped from the OnePlus 6 to the Note 9, I noticed straight away the difference in speeds, and it took me a while to get used to actually waiting that little bit longer. And yes, it's not terrible, and if you're used to standard fast charge or normal charge, if you just bought the iPhone and didn't pay extra for a fast charge because they didn't put one in the box, it's a pretty good phone, but that for me just couldn't get my head around it. And the last thing that I don't necessarily like that much, but that is really a personal thing, and you may very well disagree if you are a Note fan, for example, is the feel in the hand. I tend to prefer phones that are slightly more rounded at the back, like the Samsung S9, for example. I think that for me is a more comfortable phone to hold. I feel that the squarer, boxier shape of the Note 9 is a negative for me. But again, that is personal preference, and you know that going in. So if you want a squarer phone, go with the Note 9 and you'll have no problems. If you want a rounder phone, go with the S9 or another brand altogether. Now, of course, at the start, if you remember, I said we're gonna completely disregard price. My final sentiments are basically as follows. If you have the money for the Samsung Note 9, either to pay 900 plus pounds, dollars, other currencies, wherever you are in the world, if you have that sort of budget, then this phone has pretty much everything you could possibly want for a 2018 flagship smartphone. And while the one word I haven't used, which everyone used on the Samsung Note 9 reviews, the incremental upgrade, that phrase, while that is technically true, they have incrementally upgraded pretty much most parts of the phone. So technically, even though design-wise it looks very similar, it is a better phone than the Note A. So if you can afford that upfront fee, or you're going to go on a contract, for example, and you can pay those monthly fees, then you certainly aren't going to be dissatisfied or unhappy with the Note 9. It is a great phone. If you want the Note 9 but simply can't afford it, I wouldn't panic too much. And like the sentiments on my last video, there are other phones out there that have a lot of the features of the Note 9 but just at quite a reduced price. So if you're happy to make a few compromises, you can still get a great phone for quite a lot cheaper. So I think I've kind of covered all bases there. Let me know what you think about the Samsung Note 9 in the comments section below. Is it a phone that you love? Is it a phone you don't like, and why? Have you got it? Are you getting it? And if you're not getting it, what other phone are you looking at or have you bought instead? Like and share if you did enjoy the... That hurt. Like and share if you did enjoy this video and found it helpful. Subscribe and hit that notification bell if you're new to the channel and want to be notified every time I post a video on anything tech, pretty much daily content here on YouTube. I love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. ASBYT, peace out.